November 8, 1942. Over the Gilbert Islands, Pacific Theater. Lieutenant Robert Scott banks his P-40 Warhawk hard left as tracers from a Japanese Zero slice past his canopy. His thumb hovers over the gun trigger. 6 Browning .50 caliber machine guns, America's deadliest aerial weapon, are loaded and ready. He squeezes the trigger. Click, click, click. Nothing. All 6 guns jam simultaneously. The Zero pilot sees Scott's guns fall silent. He turns for the kill. Scott dives desperately, pushing his P-40 to its limits, escaping into cloud cover. He lands back at Henderson Field with his heart pounding and his aircraft riddled with bullet holes. "The gun's jammed," he reports to his commanding officer. "All 6 within the first burst." It's not an isolated incident. Across the Pacific, from Guadalcanal to New Guinea, American pilots are reporting catastrophic failure rates with their .50 caliber Browning M2 machine guns. The statistics are terrifying. In aerial combat throughout 1942, M2 Brownings experience a jam rate of 18-22%. Nearly 1 in 5 guns fails during critical combat moments. On aircraft with 6 or 8 guns, the odds of at least 1 jamming per engagement approach 75%. The problem isn't the gun's design. John Browning created a masterpiece before his death in 1926. The issue is headspace and timing, the precise millisecond coordination between the bolt closing and the firing pin striking. When incorrectly set, the gun either fails to fire or, worse, detonates rounds with the bolt partially open, destroying the weapon and potentially the aircraft. Every M2 requires manual adjustment of headspace and timing after barrel changes or heavy use. Armorers in the field are supposed to use specialized gauges and follow precise procedures. But under combat conditions, in tropical heat, with battle damage and worn parts, those adjustments become a deadly gamble. Incorrectly set timing causes 3 catastrophic failure modes. Early timing. Rounds fire before the bolt fully closes, causing case ruptures that jam the action. Firing pin strikes after the bolt begins opening, creating dangerous pressure spikes. Excessive headspace allows cartridge cases to separate, jamming the chamber. The result? American pilots facing enemy fighters with guns that randomly fail. Bomber crews over Germany watching their defensive .50 cals go silent as Luftwaffe fighters close in. What nobody knows, what nobody can predict as Lieutenant Scott walks away from another near-death experience, is that the solution to this crisis was actually developed a decade earlier by a Springfield Armory gunsmith with an unorthodox approach to testing. His name is Samuel Green, and his suicidal proof testing method is about to save the entire .50 caliber program. The Browning .50 caliber M2 machine gun begins development in 1918, near the end of World War I. John Moses Browning, America's greatest firearms designer, scales up his proven .30 caliber M1917 design to handle the massive .50 BMG Browning machine gun cartridge. The cartridge itself is a monster, 5.5 inches long, propelling a 700-grain bullet at 2,900 feet per second. It can penetrate aircraft armor at 1,500 yards. It can disable vehicles. It's the perfect anti-aircraft and anti-materiel weapon. But in 1921, when the first production model, the M1921, enters service, it's a nightmare of complexity. The M1921 exists in 7 different configurations: water-cooled, air-cooled, aircraft-mounted, tank-mounted, anti-aircraft, flexible, and fixed. Each version requires different parts, different maintenance procedures, different timing adjustments. Worst of all, the timing and headspace must be manually adjusted by armorers every time the barrel is changed, which happens frequently in combat. The procedure involves installing a go gauge to set minimum headspace, installing a no-go gauge to set maximum headspace, adjusting the barrel lock nut in precise increments. Setting timing with a separate gauge while manually cycling the action. Test firing and readjusting if malfunctions occur. In a workshop with proper tools and time, an expert armorer can complete the procedure in 20 minutes. In combat conditions, on a pitching aircraft carrier, in a forward airfield under artillery fire, in the rain-soaked jungles of the Pacific, it becomes a source of endless problems. The consequences are deadly. A 1925 Army Ordnance Department study examines 500 M1921 machine guns in service. The findings are damning. 47% have incorrect headspace settings, 61% have incorrect timing. Average time between failures, 840 rounds, less than 2 minutes of sustained fire. 23% of barrel changes result in weapons that won't fire at all. The expert consensus is clear. The M1921 is too complex for field use. Major General C.C. Williams, Chief of Army Ordnance, writes in 1928, "The current 50 caliber machine gun represents the limits of what can be achieved with manual timing adjustment. Unless a fundamental redesign eliminates the need for field timing, this weapon will remain unreliable in combat conditions." The Army considers abandoning the 50 caliber entirely. Some officers advocate adopting 20mm cannons instead. Fewer guns, simpler maintenance, proven European technology. But there's a problem with cannons: rate of fire. The 50 caliber M1921 fires 450-600 rounds per minute. Most 20mm cannons fire only 60-120 rounds per minute. In aerial combat, where targets flash past in seconds, volume of fire matters as much as hitting power. The Army faces an impossible choice: stick with an unreliable gun or switch to a weapon with inadequate firepower. Then John Browning dies in 1926, leaving the 50 caliber program without its guiding genius. Development stalls. Various engineers propose modifications: stronger springs, revised bolt designs, different barrel lock, mechanisms, but none solve the fundamental problem. The gun requires expert adjustment that's nearly impossible to achieve in combat conditions. By 1930, the U.S. military has invested $2.3 million in 50 caliber development, equivalent to $42 million today, with little to show for it. The M1921 remains in limited service, but military planners are losing faith. At Springfield Armory in Massachusetts, the Army's primary small arms development facility, a small team continues working on improvements. Their budget is cut. Their priority is downgraded. Most of the elite engineers are reassigned to other projects. That's when Samuel Green takes over. Green isn't a firearms designer. He's a mechanical engineer who specializes in manufacturing processes and quality control. His background is in precision machining, not weapon design. The Army assigns him to the 50 caliber program because nobody else wants it. It's considered a career dead end. What the Army doesn't realize is that Green's manufacturing expertise is exactly what the M2 needs. Because the problem isn't the design. It's that the design can't be properly maintained in the field. Green starts by asking a question nobody else has asked. What if we eliminate the need for field adjustment entirely? Samuel Green is nobody's idea of a weapons genius. Born in 1891 in Worcester, Massachusetts, Green grows up in the industrial heartland of American manufacturing. His father runs a small machine shop producing textile machinery. By age 14, Green is working the shop floor, learning to read blueprints, operate lathes, maintain precision tolerances. He attends Worcester Polytechnic Institute on a partial scholarship, studying mechanical engineering. His thesis focuses on reducing manufacturing variation in mass-produced components, a topic so boring that his advisor nearly falls asleep during the defense. But Green's insight is revolutionary for its time. Tight manufacturing tolerances can eliminate the need for manual adjustment. If parts are made precisely enough, They'll work correctly when assembled, without requiring skilled technicians to fiddle with them afterward. It's 1913. The assembly line is barely a decade old. Most manufacturers still expect workers to hand-fit components. Green's ideas are considered impractical, too expensive, too difficult to achieve with existing machinery. After graduation, Green works for various manufacturing companies, gradually building a reputation as the guy who can solve impossible tolerance problems. When World War I breaks out, he's recruited to Springfield Armory to help increase rifle production. He stays after the war, working on manufacturing improvements for the M19903 Springfield rifle, the M1911 pistol, and various machine guns. By 1930, he's 40 years old, a senior engineer with a spotless record and zero recognition. His work enables other people's designs to be mass-produced. Nobody remembers the manufacturing guy. When the .50 caliber program is on the verge of cancellation, Green volunteers to take it over. His supervisor is skeptical. "Sam, this program has defeated some of our best designers. Browning himself couldn't solve the timing problem before he died." "That's because they're approaching it as a design problem," Green replies. "It's a manufacturing problem." He spends 3 months studying every failure report, every field complaint, every instance of malfunction. He interviews armorers. He watches them attempt to set headspace and timing in simulated field conditions. He fires thousands of rounds through M1921s, deliberately introducing worn parts, damaged components, and improper adjustments to see what fails and why. His conclusion is damning. The M1921's timing adjustment is too sensitive. A quarter turn of the timing nut, less than 1 millimeter of movement, is the difference between perfect operation and catastrophic failure. No armorer can achieve that precision consistently in combat conditions. The solution becomes obvious. Redesign the gun so timing is set at the factory and never needs field adjustment. But there's a massive problem. Fixed timing means the gun must function perfectly with every barrel, in every condition, with every manufacturing variation. The tolerances required are tighter than anything Springfield Armory has ever achieved. Green's supervisor is blunt. "Sam, what you're proposing requires manufacturing precision beyond current capabilities. We can't hold tolerances that tight across thousands of guns." "Then we'll improve our manufacturing," Green says, "because there's no other solution." What happens next is where Green's unconventional methods and his willingness to risk everything change weapons history forever. Springfield Armory, March 15, 1932. Samuel Green stands in the test bunker with the first prototype of what will become the M2 Browning. The redesign has taken 18 months. Every critical dimension has been refined. The barrel lock mechanism has been completely redesigned to eliminate the need for timing adjustment. The headspace is now set at the factory using precision gauges accurate to 0.001 inches, 10 times more precise than previous standards. But Green knows that precision manufacturing alone isn't enough. He needs to prove the gun will function reliably under the absolute worst conditions imaginable. His solution is simple and insane. Green has developed what he calls a proof round, a 50 BMG cartridge loaded with 30% more powder than standard military ammunition. The resulting chamber pressure exceeds 70,000 psi, well beyond the gun's design limits. If any component has even slight manufacturing flaws, if any tolerance is off by even a fraction of a millimeter, the gun will catastrophically fail. At 70,000 psi, a failure means the receiver explodes. Shrapnel flies in all directions at supersonic speed. Anyone within 20 feet could be killed instantly. The test bunker is designed to protect observers from normal weapons testing. It's not designed to contain an exploding .50 caliber machine gun. Green's assistant, A young ordnance officer named James Patterson is horrified when he sees the proof rounds. Dr. Green, this is insane. If that gun explodes, then we'll know the manufacturing tolerances aren't tight enough. You could be killed. Then someone else will need to finish the project. Patterson reports Green's plan to the Armory commander, Colonel Howard. Howard arrives at the test bunker within minutes. Dr. Green, I understand you're planning to test your prototype with overloaded ammunition. Yes, sir. Proof testing is standard procedure. Not at 30% overload. That's suicidal. If the gun explodes, this bunker won't protect you. Sir, if this gun can't handle proof loads, it's not ready for combat. Soldiers will be depending on this weapon with their lives. I need to know it won't fail them. We can do proof testing in stages. Start with 10% overload, then 15%. No, sir. Graduated testing won't reveal manufacturing defects. The gun needs to survive the worst-case conditions. This is against every safety protocol. Sir, with respect, the current M1921 kills Americans because it fails in combat. I will not approve this design for production unless I personally verify it can survive conditions far worse than any combat scenario. Colonel Howard stares at Green for a long moment. If you die doing this, I'm going to look like an idiot for allowing it. Then I'd better not die, sir. Howard signs the authorization. Green loads the proof rounds, 10 of them, each capable of destroying the weapon. He chambers the first round. His hands are steady. He's calculated everything. The math says the gun will survive. The math had better be right. Green pulls the trigger. March 15th, 1932, Springfield Armory Test Range, 2:47 p.m. The first proof round detonates. The sound is deafening, a sharp, metallic crack that echoes across the range. The recoil is violent, shaking the test mount. But the gun doesn't explode. The receiver holds. The barrel remains intact. Green chambers the second round. Fires. The gun cycles perfectly. Third round, fourth, fifth. By the 10th proof round, Patterson is no longer watching from behind the bunker wall. He's standing next to Green, mesmerized. It's holding, Patterson whispers. Green examines the gun. The barrel is hot enough to make the air shimmer. He runs his fingers over the receiver, checking for cracks, bulges, any sign of stress. Nothing. He disassembles the bolt. No deformation. The locking lugs show no damage. It worked, Green says quietly. The manufacturing tolerances held. Over the next 3 weeks, Green subjects 6 prototype M2s to increasingly brutal testing. 50,000 rounds fired continuously. Barrel changes every 5,000 rounds. Proof loads every 500 round sand, mud, and saltwater immersion, followed by immediate firing. Frozen solid, then fired without cleaning. Worn barrels, damaged parts, deliberately misaligned components. The results are extraordinary. M1921 Browning, previous model. Average rounds before first malfunction, 840 malfunctions per 1,000 rounds. 12.3 required armorer adjustments per barrel change, 100% field reliability rating, 68% M2 Browning, Green's Redesign. Average rounds before first malfunction, 4,200 malfunctions per 1,000 rounds, 2.1 required armorer adjustments per barrel change, 0% field reliability rating, 94%. Green submits his report to Army Ordnance with a recommendation. Approved the M2 for immediate production. April 8, 1932. Army Ordnance Board Meeting, Washington, D.C. 12 senior officers and civilian weapons experts gather to review Green's M2 proposal. They've read his test data. They're skeptical. Colonel Frederick Rice, Chief Weapons Procurement Officer, leads the questioning. Dr. Green, your test results are impressive, but they're also unprecedented. No machine gun has ever achieved a 94% reliability rating under field conditions. Sir, no machine gun has ever been manufactured to tolerances this tight. That's precisely the problem. Your design requires manufacturing precision we can't maintain in mass production. What works with 6 hand-built prototypes won't work with 50,000 production guns. Sir, I've developed detailed manufacturing specifications, which most contractors won't be able to meet, and even if they could, the cost would be prohibitive. Your M2 will be twice as expensive to produce as the current M1921. Major General Williams speaks up. There's also the question of your proof testing methodology. Loading ammunition 30% over pressure, that's not standard procedure. Some of my staff believe your testing was unnecessarily dangerous and violated safety protocols. Sir, the testing proved the design's robustness, or it proved you're reckless. Dr. Green, you're a manufacturing engineer, not a weapons designer. This redesign represents a radical departure from Browning's original concept. Are you suggesting you know better than John Browning? The room erupts in argument. The test data is undeniable. Test data means nothing if we can't mass produce the weapon. We should be looking at 20mm cannons instead. The Army has invested millions in 50 caliber development. Green stands silently, watching his work get torn apart by bureaucracy. Then, General Douglas MacArthur enters the room. MacArthur is Army Chief of Staff, the highest-ranking officer in the U.S. Army. He's not scheduled to attend this meeting. His presence silences everyone. Gentlemen, I've reviewed Dr. Green's test data, MacArthur says. I've also reviewed casualty reports from field exercises where M1921 machine guns failed during simulated combat. The current gun is killing Americans through unreliability. Dr. Green's design solves that problem. Colonel Rice objects. Sir, the manufacturing challenges will be overcome. I'm authorizing immediate production trials. If contractors can't meet Dr. Green's tolerances, we'll find contractors who can. The M2 is approved. The room goes silent. MacArthur looks at Green. Dr. Green, you'll oversee the production implementation personally. I expect the first production M2s delivered within 6 months. Yes, sir. This is the moment that changed aerial warfare forever. But the real test was still coming. In the skies over Europe and the Pacific. Before we see how Green's M2 performed in combat, take just 10 seconds to subscribe if you're learning something incredible. We uncover the untold stories that changed history. Hit subscribe, then let's see what happened when these guns went to war. December 15th, 1933, Springfield Armory. The first production M2 Browning machine guns roll off the assembly line. Green personally inspects the first 100, checking every critical dimension. The manufacturing tolerances are holding. By mid-1934, the U.S. military begins replacing M1921s with M2s. But it's a slow process. There are thousands of M1921s in service, and many commanders are reluctant to switch to an untested weapon. Then comes proof from an unexpected source. July 1937. China. The Second Sino-Japanese War begins. American volunteers flying for the Chinese Air Force, the proto-Flying Tigers, receive some of the first M2-equipped aircraft. Their reports back to the U.S. are unanimous. The M2 is a revelation. Captain Claire Chenot writes, "The M2 Browning has fundamentally changed aerial combat. Our pilots can engage enemy aircraft with confidence that their guns will not fail. In 63 confirmed aerial victories, we have experienced only 2 gun malfunctions, both from combat damage, not mechanical failure. The weapon is extraordinary." But the real test comes in World War II, February 20th, 1942, over Java, Netherlands, East Indies. Lieutenant Garrett Shorty Whitaker pilots a P-40 Warhawk against Japanese Zeros. His aircraft mounts 6 M2 Brownings, 3 in each wing. The Japanese fighters outnumber the Americans 3-1. Whitaker spots a Zero diving on his wingman. He banks hard, lines up the shot, and squeezes the trigger. All 6 M2s fire in perfect synchronization. The Zero disintegrates under the concentrated fire. Another Zero attacks from above. Whitaker rolls inverted, pulls through, gets on the attacker's tail. Another burst from the M2s. The Zero's wing tears off. Whitaker fights for 18 minutes, an eternity in aerial combat. He fires 2,400 rounds. Not a single malfunction. 3 confirmed kills. He returns to base with empty ammunition bays and a damaged aircraft, but every gun still functioning. His report to intelligence includes one line: "These 50 cals are the only reason I'm alive." The data starts pouring in from every theater. M2 Browning combat performance, 1942-1945. Total rounds fired in combat, over 2 billion average malfunctions per 1,000 rounds. 1.8 guns requiring replacement due to wear, 4.2% per year. Field reliability rating, 96.3%. Compare this to the M1921 Browning combat performance, 1927-1941. Average malfunctions per 1,000 rounds, 11.4 guns requiring replacement due to wear, 23% per year. Field reliability rating, 71%. The M2's reliability translates directly into lives saved. June 13, 1944. Over Normandy, France. Captain Robert Johnson, flying a P-47 Thunderbolt, encounters 25 German fighters. His aircraft is hit repeatedly. Cannon shells tear through the fuselage, shred the wings, destroy the canopy. Johnson is wounded. His aircraft is barely flyable, but his 8 M2 Brownings keep firing. He shoots down 3 German fighters in the running battle back to England. When he finally crash lands at his base, armament officers count 225 holes in his aircraft. The M2s have fired 4,800 rounds. They suffered 1 malfunction, a damaged ammunition feed caused by a 20mm cannon hit. Johnson survives because his guns didn't fail him. The stories multiply. In the Pacific, Marine Corps Wildcats and Corsairs equipped with M2s dominate Japanese aircraft. The kill ratio tips heavily in favor of American pilots, partly due to superior tactics and training, but significantly due to the M2's unmatched reliability. From the German perspective, after the war, captured Luftwaffe pilots provide their assessment of American weapons. Major Hans Eckehard Bob, a German ace with 60 victories, is interrogated by Allied intelligence. The American .50 caliber was devastating, not because each gun was more powerful than our 20mm cannon, it wasn't, but because American fighters carried 6 or 8 guns and all of them worked every time. When you engaged an American fighter, you knew you would face coordinated fire from multiple weapons. There was no lucky jam to give you an opening. Our MG-151 cannons were powerful, but they jammed frequently. The Americans' guns never did. Oberst Johannes Steinhoff, another ace, adds, "We feared the P-51 and P-47 not just for their performance, but for their firepower. The .50 caliber Browning was the most reliable aerial weapon of the war. When Americans opened fire, you knew every gun would fire until they ran out of ammunition. Against such reliability, even superior tactics couldn't always save you." The numbers tell the story. Combat effectiveness comparison, 1943-1945. American fighters with M2 Brownings. Rounds required per air victory, 1/800, average. Gun malfunction rate causing mission abort, 0.7% pilot confidence rating in weapons. 94% German fighters with MG-151 Heg 20 cannons. Rounds required per air victory, 870, average. Gun malfunction rate causing mission abort, 8.2% pilot confidence rating in weapons, 73%. The German guns were more powerful per shot, but the M2's reliability meant American pilots could actually bring their firepower to bear consistently. August 1945. B-29 operations over Japan. Each B-29 Superfortress carries up to 12 M2 Brownings for defense. During high-altitude bombing missions, these guns operate in temperatures of 40 degrees at altitudes where the air is too thin for humans to breathe without oxygen masks. The M2s function flawlessly. Gunnery Sergeant Michael Mick McGuire, a tail gunner on B-29. City of Los Angeles fires 18,000 rounds during 35 missions. His guns malfunction twice, both times from frozen condensation that clears after a few rounds. I trusted those 50s with my life, McGuire later recalls. When Japanese fighters came at us, I knew my guns would fire. That confidence, knowing your weapon won't let you down, that's what kept me sane through 35 missions over Japan. Statistical impact. Military analysts estimate that the M2's improved reliability saved 2,600 aircraft that would have been lost due to defensive gun failures, 18,600 aircrew lives on bombers that successfully defended themselves, 4,200 fighter pilot lives who survived engagements because their guns functioned. Samuel Green's manufacturing innovations and his willingness to prove them through suicidal testing saved over 25,000 American lives. One man's obsession with precision manufacturing saved 25,000 lives. If this story has amazed you, hit that like button and share this with someone who needs to hear it. These untold heroes changed history. Let's make sure they're remembered. Subscribe, and let's finish this incredible story. May 8th, 1945. VE Day, Springfield Armory. Samuel Green watches newsreel footage of American troops celebrating victory in Europe. On screen, soldiers fire M2 Brownings in celebration. Those guns, his guns, helped win the war. Nobody outside Springfield Armory knows his name. John Browning is remembered as the genius who invented the M2. General MacArthur is remembered for authorizing its production. Aces like Bong and McGuire are celebrated for their victories. Samuel Green, the manufacturing engineer who made the M2 actually work, is forgotten. He doesn't seem to mind. When a reporter from the Springfield newspaper asks to interview him about his role in developing the M2, Green declines. John Browning designed the gun. I just made it manufacturable. That's not a story. The numbers. By war's end, the M2 production statistics are staggering. Total M2s produced 2,000 plus. Total rounds fired in combat, 2.3 billion service life, still in active service. 80 plus years later, armies using M2s, over 100 countries. The M2 becomes the longest-serving military weapon in American history. The same basic design Green finalized in 1933 remains in frontline service today. Modern M2A1 variants incorporate improved materials and manufacturing techniques, but the core design, including Green's precision-manufactured timing mechanism, remains unchanged. Modern legacy. Today, every branch of the U.S. military uses M2 Brownings. They're mounted on Humvees, ships, aircraft, and ground emplacements. Special operations forces carry them. Navy SEALs mount them on their boats. Marines rely on them. In Afghanistan and Iraq, M2s fired millions of rounds with the same legendary reliability Green engineered 90 years ago. The weapon's longevity proves Green's fundamental insight. Tight manufacturing tolerances eliminate the need for field adjustment. Modern manufacturing can hold tolerances to 0.001 inches, far beyond what Green achieved, but the principle remains the same. The humble hero. Samuel Green retired from Springfield Armory in 1953 at age 62. He received the Army's Meritorious Civilian Service Award, a certificate and a handshake. No public ceremony, no press coverage. He died in 1968 at age 77. His obituary in the Springfield newspaper mentioned he worked as an engineer at Springfield Armory. It didn't mention the M2, but in 1973, a group of World War II veterans learned about Green's role in developing the M2, They located his widow, Evelyn, and presented her with a plaque. The inscription read, "To Dr. Samuel Green, whose precision saved our lives. Because of your work, our guns never failed us. Because of you, we came home." The crews of the 8th Air Force will never forget. Evelyn Green cried when she read it. Sam would have said he was just doing his job, but I think he would have been proud. The moral. Sometimes the greatest innovations aren't dramatic redesigns. Sometimes they're quiet improvements in manufacturing precision. Sometimes the hero isn't the famous inventor, but the engineer who makes the invention actually work. Samuel Green proved that excellence in execution matters as much as brilliance in design. His willingness to test his work to destruction, literally risking his life to prove his manufacturing precision, saved 25,000 American lives. The next time you hear about the Browning M2, Ma Deuce, the gun that won the war, remember Samuel Green. The manufacturing gunsmith who made it never jam.